Some businesses succeed, some don't. Then there are those that seem to have been around forever. The true entrepreneurial success story. How did they do it? What was their vision? What makes a success? In this special episode for Eye on Annapolis, we speak with the true success stories, those business owners that have been around for decades, learn from their successes and failures. Now, here's host John Fernay.
We did a podcast for the film festival a couple years ago at the world headquarters of JEB Design, and we were back here again with Joe Barsin and Eva Barsin, who is the J and the E
That's right.
out of JEB Design.
That's
JEB
right.
Design.
Joe and Eva Barsin.
Yep. This time we're here with the Legacy Business Series, and we just wanted to learn about JEB Design, everything that you've got. I know that you've got a couple different division. Actually, it's funny. It does sound like it's this huge company.
I know.
Actually, we're lying. We're sitting here in the dining room. It's a
home office. We're going
to pull the curtain back a little bit.
Right.
But you guys have been around for, I don't want to say forever, but I mean a good long time.
Yeah.
And I'd venture to say that every Marylander probably unconsciously knows about you because you were the designer of the Bay Plate, which had just recently was changed up, but that had like a good
15 years.
15-year run.
Yeah, we started that was a Chesapeake Bay Trust. We worked with them in 2003. At the time, was David O'Neill was a executive director, and so we worked with them directly because at the time we're just talking about that, how we're trying to figure out how we got that job. And that was because when we first moved here, we started the company in 1998. We came from Alexandria.
JEB Design.
Yeah, JEB Design. And we started, we love an opera, and we found out Annapolis had an opera company. That was...
You guys like opera?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, we're done.
Well, before that, we had no clue as to what it was. And we went to it,
right.
like, they're kind of funny. They're kind of entertaining.
They're fun and beautiful.
We've got some great art here. Our opera is one, and I'm not a big opera fan, but I gave it one more shot about 2 years ago, and we were at an intermission, and I looked over to Teresa. I'm like, I want to go to Grapes? It was like, yeah, let's go. Let's go.
Some are more entertaining than others.
It's an acquired taste, but regardless, Annapolis has an opera company, which is
it's impressive.
Very impressive, and it's good. And it was before we had kids, and we just started our own business, and we went to some of their performances and realized at the time they had no really identity or anything going on marketing wise. And so we reached out to them in pro bono. I was saying, hey, look, you got to do posters for you because in college I did that pro bono. I'd do film posters for the local the college film festivals, and that was always a fun thing I just enjoyed doing. And they said, yeah, sure, we'd love that help. And so even I got involved with the Annapolis Opera. That was like that was in the late '90s, and so through that, eventually we got on the board. And then we met one of the board members is Melanie Teams. She worked at CBT and just said, hey, come on, we need some help with annual reports and some graphic design work. And so we were there for a couple of years. And then when David and Neil came on board as executive director, said, hey, it's time to change up the Bay Plate. We just had that old one, which was just the green heron in the center.
Right.
And
as well as a logo and the whole identity system.
Yeah, and so he said, well, look, the JEB, JEB Design's already in the house. We're already working with you guys every day. And so we started talking, and with David, we did research on cars and colors and popular themes, and we basically developed 6 different designs to present to the MVA and the state troopers. And through that process of 6 designs, one was picked, which was the one that everyone knows. So,
where is your background, Joe? You are the artist.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm the illustrator. Both Eve and I are graphic designers. We both have BFAs in graphic design, and we met at Kent State in Ohio. So we've been dating since we're in the early 20s, and then obviously we got married. I think 1995, and then a couple of years we worked together. Actually worked with Sass & Associates, which was in Annapolis. That was in 1993. So we lived here for 1 year down in Watergate Village, and then we got jobs in D.C. and worked in Alexandria for a couple of years. And then when we were at the point where we knew enough to run our own business, write contracts, make estimating, really know our trade, that's when we decided to start JEB Design or JEB, and we came out here to Arnold. So
that was back in what?
98.
98?
Yeah.
In hindsight, good move?
Oh, yeah. No doubts.
It was a very busy time then. The business was booming. We were just several times we talked about getting another office and hiring a small staff.
Yeah.
I mean, we were in this house for probably 5-6 years
Yeah.
before our boys were born. I'm just
Well,
very busy.
that's a terrifying moment in a business owner's life to turn around. Do we move into do we bring on a rent of a warehouse or an office or a studio?
Yeah.
Do we bring on people? Do I want to be responsible for somebody else's livelihood?
Right.
Those are all pretty heady.
What kind of managers will we be?
Yeah.
Right.
That.
I guess that in our case, we were always able to pay the bills and grow with just the two of us, and with a lot of contractors. I mean, photographers, other artists, a lot of So this is even before, let's say, well, obviously the internet was around then. We did a lot of work making websites, but in the sense of that, the gig economy per se, that was going on with us in the early 90s and 2000, late 90s, 2000s was how we did a lot of projects with a lot of different people, from without having a staff. So that carried us through, obviously, to the recession, and then everything changes in that wonderful era.
2008.
But for us at that point, we were kind of pretty established, and we had clients. But of course, everyone lost clients. Everything changed in that era. But the good news with the Bay Plate under our belt, and I was starting to do more editorial designs for magazines and illustration. I said to Eve, was like, hey, I would love to take this downtime and kind of refocus more into the illustration, which is what I always wanted more to do of that, get involved with that. And so it was like pretty much around that time that started happening. It was around 2009. And we noticed that the Eastport Lights Parade was always looking for artists to do their poster. And
I'm very impressed that you got the name right.
Oh, yeah, no. Well, I better get it right. I've been doing it for 10 years.
You better get it right.
We put threw a hat in the ring, and they picked my design, and so I worked with so I did the 2010 poster. And then we had a good time, and obviously the whole experience is fun, and working with the Yacht Club's great. And then they realized they kind of needed someone to kind of manage the whole thing every year, in the sense of working with other artists and doing all the graphic design and the T-shirts and all the things that are part of that big marketing engine. So they brought me on. They hired, basically, I was a client. They were a client of mine. They paid me for my time to reach out to other artists and bring them in. So, since then, since 2010, I worked with Charles Lawrence, Raymond Mathau, Catherine Carney, Cindy Fletcher Holden was involved. Right. And then we did a couple of years. We worked with all the art departments of all the schools
and the kids
around here. So it was a great run. We had a good almost 10 years of solid posters every year with T-shirts and all that.
Well, your art is very unique. It's very distinctive. For the most part, it is Bay-centric. Would that be fair?
Yeah, definitely.
To say
Mid-Atlantic. I have some DC and other stuff, and Philly.
It's very crisp. It's very colorful. I do have a Blue Angel one hanging over my desk that I absolutely love. And you've also done the artwork for the film festival for 8 of their 8 years. Well, actually, 7 of their 7 years. 8 of
they're coming up in 8. But actually, I worked with Patty and Lee, and before that it was called the Shorts Crawl.
Oh, that's right.
And so I helped them on that.
Yeah. You do a retail thing. I mean, I see on Facebook all the time. You've got Citizen Pride.
Yeah, that's the new,
which is your baby as well.
Yeah.
Now, what is Citizen Pride about? Where did the name come from, and what is the difference between that and JEB design?
Yeah, well, Eva knows. Yes,
we did sort of go through as we transitioned from doing just the service industry, graphic design, mainly B2B. And then the recession happened, and Joe was doing more illustration. We kind of had an identity crisis of sorts. We weren't sure exactly where we were going, but at one point we said, well, let's kind of brand ourselves as Barsin art, and Joe can focus on illustration. We'll still do design. And then we came up. Actually, our first opportunity happened with Maria Dawson.
Oh yeah,
and Maria's Picture Plate.
Right.
So we'll always be grateful for her helping us, because she was the first one that let Joe come into the gallery. She had a show for Joe during Art Walk, and that kind of launched him as an illustrator, graphic illustrator.
Okay.
And then right after that point, this is soon after the Lights Parade illustration that you did, we came up with. We said, well, let's just brand ourselves with the sort of crab, flag icons of Maryland. And I think we were one of the first to really do that. It was early on. That's certainly one of the first to incorporate the map as well. And the red crab preceded the blue because that's Maryland. The crab feast, the steamed crab.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we took that and a couple other icons. We had the raven and the oriole and the terrapin, and we took that design collection and had a few prints and things to our first trade show down in Ocean City. Yeah. And that's probably 2012.
Around.
So that kind of launched Citizen Pride, the branding of it. Sort of the pride of your hometown, the teams that you support.
If nothing else, Maryland has pride in pretty much.
We love our flag.
the flag, or
yes.
cool. Absolutely. Now that is somewhat is that your retail aspect of that? I guess
at that point it became more an official retail launch. We talked to someone there at the show, a sales rep who said you need to put these on garden flags, and then it just explode. I mean, she helped us. She really, Debbie Perlman, helps teach us about wholesale and retail and how it works. Yeah. And in the next couple of years, we were in probably about 150 stores. Yeah. Maryland and Delaware, some
Virginia,
DC, Virginia. Yeah. With Local by Design, it's just a wonderful shop that was started. It's about 4 years old now, and they're just growing and growing. But it's just all local artists and small businesses. The concept's wonderful.
Your stuff is featured very prominently there, and I think that if people aren't familiar with your stuff, that's a good place to go. Check it out.
Definitely.
You can only get so much on the web. Yeah, what is your inventory? What do you sell? I mean, I do know that I've seen the stickers on the back of all the cars.
Right.
So you've got the traditional oval stickers. Yeah. And I have seen, you've said garden flags, which are the little metal stakey things where they're probably like a 2 foot square, maybe 1 foot by 2 foot, something or other.
Right, a small little house flag.
But what other products do you have that...
The flags are big sell at the small gardens. We have the big house flags, and they're decorated. We have doormats, and stickers are big. Because they're just big. Easy to just put on your car.
Also and online they sell really well. We started with Amazon, but now we have our own website. So we stickers, magnets, door mats. What else? We're doing ornaments.
We're expanding it to the wooden signs and just sort of gift items, things and they do real well. Some of our items do great in the museum store down in Annapolis for tourists. Yeah. People buy them for gifts.
That's that store that keeps moving.
It does. It was where it is now when we first went in.
We've been both corners of the block. Yeah.
But and then of course you do have your prints that you do sell as well there. And again, you tend to look for events, I guess, to commemorate events. Yeah. You've got the Blue Angels that are flying over the Severn River and the Naval Academy. That's the one that I have. I know I've seen several other ones that are pretty much...
I focused, and that was kind of in the early days, the Barsin art was that whole travel type poster feel. And that was, they did the Blue Angels over Annapolis. I did a War of 1812 poster of Baltimore.
You also do private work. And I know that we did a podcast on the Maryland Crabs and we talked about piracy and swiping work and how to protect your work and whatnot.
That's a big part of what I do. And funny we're in Mothers because that's kind of where we got started with Citizen Pride, because we have all our work from Citizen Pride. That was like when we first were starting that whole identity. That's when Mothers opened up here in Arnold, and so that was a perfect. They needed our work for the walls, and we needed a way to promote this, and so it was like one of those great kismic moments for us.
Mothers is great. Dave is celebrating 7 years, I guess it is. Here in Arnold now.
Not long. Citizen Pride and Dave, same.
At the same time.
and I heard that they're looking for another location too. Now, Eva, what's your role with the company? I mean, Joe, you are the primary artist.
I say the illustrator is mainly my thing, but Eva and I both are graphic design, so probably a lot of people know all the social media promotions, and I'll let Eva speak to that.
Yeah, that is primarily what I do. It's just the social media outreach is just promoting what we do, and it is very important.
Who does the books?
That's Joe. Well, I do a lot of. I do handle the inventory for us in the store, so it's a lot of invoicing.
So you actually do maintain inventory, though. This is not a print on demand type of a thing. I know
we dabble in that with some items, apparel. That's if we can. Anyone out there that wants interested in partnering with us for shirts and hats. We haven't found the right the people yet for that, and we just don't want to get into the whole thing, the sizing and all that. Yeah. But we have our whole garage that has been
transformed.
That's a good word for it. keeps everything that we have, and that's where we every day I go out and make sure I get the shipping out for their Amazon and website orders. So it's anywhere between 20 to 50 to 80 around the holidays.
Depending on
every day there's that.
Really? That's
many. Yeah, it might be a sticker here, it might be a couple flags, it might be a store.
So like you wake up in the morning and you check it and see how much money you made while you were sleeping.
Yeah, we do a little app that digs. It's kind of fun. But
Yeah, people around us may know my phone does these little like cash registers.
that's
Like
something I do.
I'll be camping in Boy Scouts and ding 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 ding. Like okay, what did they just buy? Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about your commercial work though that you do for businesses. I know that you have done some of the work that I'm going to go out on a limb and say that I don't know for a fact that you've done it, but I think I do because the way you look, your art looks. Scott Schuett, a realtor, maybe?
Yeah, Scott Shooter. Yeah, Scott.
Okay.
Yes, he's a realtor with Century 21, and he and I were all good friends, and so we started doing his ads in the What's Up a couple of years ago, and so we did this. What we love to do is co-branding. We do a lot of that, and so he helped his business. We promoted with our work in his ads. So it'd be like images of Annapolis downtown, and it'd be, of course, he's real estate, so he's selling houses in Annapolis. So that has been a fun experience, working on his identity. And then also,
and he's a Navy grad, so his logo kind of incorporates the Blue Angels, which makes sense.
Right.
So so we do a lot, and then also Zeskins. They just opened up a shop here in Arnold.
Oh yeah,
we're good friends with the family, the Millers, and that's a many generational business. Zeskins up in Baltimore, and so I worked closely with Rick. He's the owner now. He bought it from his parents, and so he and I worked on his trucks. I do all the wraps, and so there's a lot. You'll recognize the trucks going by, and it has a very distinctive Citizen Pride look.
I think I remember seeing that on your Facebook page last week or something.
Hard to miss that.
So there's a couple trucks. One's a really big one. They sent out the Eastern Shore, so that has a whole Maryland theme. Has Thomas Light on it, and the Bay Bridge and Annapolis, and then the one they have that goes around Baltimore has scenes of Baltimore and row houses, and so that was a fun project because it's funny with both Scott Shooter and Zeskins. I feel like it's weird. That's Citizen Pride is a retail company. And we sell products, but in reality, we're kind of bigger than that because we're working on these brands with fellow small businesses in Annapolis. It feels like the look and the retail and the business side is all the same in my mind. It's kind of like it's all about our pride of place.
Interesting.
We're all local businesses. We're all small mom and pop type businesses, and we're all in this together. And we all really care about our
supporting
community.
each other.
We're all in this together.
And it's funny that you talk about co-branding and whatnot. I would imagine, and I've not seen the trucks in person, but I'd imagine, except for probably a small little part of the corner of one side or both sides or something where it may say either Citizen Pride or JEB design or something like that. There's no big branding on the side of it. I mean, but I look at that truck and I can read what it is and what. But I know
who did it. Yeah, and that's it's great being an artist. You always work towards what your style is, and I feel like that's always a process that you grow through.
How long did it take you to develop that?
I think to me the most distinctive in my mind was the Bay Plate. That's kind of when I started that really graphic, clean look. If you look at some of my earlier work back in college and all that, it was more like Terry Gilliam's Monty Python feel. I did a lot of cut imagery and merged it together. So if you look at a lot of my older posters, I did, like I mentioned in college, they're a lot of the cut art look.
Collage.
But I think I really mastered Adobe Illustrator. I became really good at that style. So I'm really comfortable in that medium versus other mediums. So I'm definitely a computer designer. I do everything in the computer, Illustrate, but I always sketch. I'm always got a pencil and paper to start just to get the ideas flowing.
That's the idea, and then it transforms into a digital
finished work. And so that's a process that's I enjoy greatly. So when the thing I'm enjoying most right now with Citizen Pride is the working on these crests for cities. Like the most people know maybe my work with the Birdland. I did the raven and the oriole kind of forming a two-headed eagle.
Right,
and that rolled into then I did one for Pittsburgh, and that was a big success. And then I just recently did one for Philadelphia, and I did another one for Boston. And so these have been great, really enjoyable projects for me personally. I really love because I love taking identity and logos and that feel and then finding key elements of a community. And it's not just sports. It can be like in the case of Pittsburgh, you have the three rivers, the three sisters coming together, and also sports, but also elements of the city, and trying to bring all together to represent one key image that kind of represents the citizen pride of that community.
And that is your strength. You're so good at developing logo. As a designer, you're an excellent logo designer.
Yeah.
And that's the most challenging thing to design is a logo.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of information, a lot of things you have to communicate, and distill it down to one mark. It's very challenging. So that's why I think our stickers do so well, because they're clean, they're graphic, and they hopefully nail the pride.
You put it in Montana and they have no idea what it is. I mean, you know exactly what it is when you look at a design from you.
Yeah, and it's taken off. I've had friends reach out who live in Chicago, say, "Hey Joe, I'm working on Chicago right now. I'm working on having another friends and fans in Phoenix, in Arizona. So I'm working. These are all sketches that I'm working on right now from other communities that have reached out to me and said, "Hey, we like what you did," and working. And the key is always working with the locals. I mean, that's number one. I'm not doing this for the tourist trade. I'm doing this for people that live there that can relate to it, and that's the key.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense in the world.
Well, there's times you'll see a lot of stuff out there that to you being maybe from another. Let's say if you never went to Cleveland and you looked at it like, oh, there's a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That a Clevelandite would love that, but that's not.
That's not.
If
that's
you don't
not
live
Cleveland.
in Cleveland,
That's not Cleveland.
It's part of their identity, but there's a lot more going on there. Growing up in Akron, I know that. So it's just the part of the really getting in and doing it for them, and then that's what matters. So that's kind of the whole thinking behind what we're doing with Citizen Pride, and that's the more art side of me, that merging the Citizen Pride with what I love as an artist. That's kind of what we've been growing down that path.
You guys have 2 children.
We do, 15, 17-year-old boys.
Are they artistically talented? Did that acorn fall close to the tree or far from the tree, or don't we know yet?
They're creative. Our younger James is definitely, he loves illustrating. He gets into the whole digital illustration, animation. He takes classes at Maryland Hall and
community college here,
Yeah, he's pretty.
Do you get into? You said animation. Do you get into any animation yourself? Have you tinkered with it at all?
A lot of my work's been made into animations. Like all my posters for the Annapolis Film Festival, Mo took it and pulled, because I do everything in layers, so you can pull the layers out and move it around. But I just don't have time to. It's a big learning curve, so I haven't really invested the time to figure that out. So.
Yeah, you master your one. And I see your stuff all over with different events that are not. I mean, now are they? Yeah. This is work that you're just volunteering to do, or sometimes, or
Well, we just did the thing for Maryland Millions, the horse program cover, and that was me. They had a contest, and I wanted to get over the years, people kept saying, well, you're a Maryland artist. Why haven't you done any with horse related stuff? And I'm like, hey, you're right. And I'm always frustrated because I wanted to do something. And so they had a contest. They were asking for artists to submit work for Maryland Millions, the big, which is all about. It's a horse race. It's only that horses from Maryland are bred in Maryland or related to Maryland. So I created an illustration that's kind of tied into the Citizen Pride theme. Had a lot of fun with it. It's tied into the history of Laurel Park. Has their old roundhouse. And then brought that together and submitted it. And it was interesting. They got right back to me and said, well, you didn't win the contest because that's for the big gala that's up in Baltimore. And that's using more traditional fine art. It's a beautiful, beautiful ink sketch was done. It was beautiful work. So that kind of fits better that world. But I said, but we love it. We want your piece on the cover of the program. And so we said, great. Well, you guys can use on the program if we can get a half-page ad inside the program. And so I always enjoy that. It's funny. It's a promotional thing, but it's kind of a barter thing. It's like this neat blending. The co-branding thing is always a big part of what we think about. So that we received no money for that, but that's part of just imagining, wanting to be relevant. Being part of our community.
Well, it's also it's giving back to the community too. Yeah. And I mean that's with living in any community, it's give and take. Yeah. And you really do need to figure a way to give back, and it's certainly admirable that you've got that attitude as well.
Yeah, and then from that, and then again, I mentioned earlier about the Annapolis Opera, and then that's the Bay Plate. Well, here's the case where the Maryland Millions was the racing community, the horse industry. I reached out to Fair Hills, that's up in Cecil County. They're building a whole new equestrian center up there. Like $18 million is the Park Service is putting into this new horse for equestrian. I think it's the steeplechase, the leaping, and that whole world of horse equestrian world. And they need a new logo for them because they're building this whole new facility. And so I reached out to them and said, hey, by the way, I did this thing for Maryland Millions. I said, oh, that's great. Can we work together? And I'm working with them now on their identity. So that is a paid job. So that's a case of, kind of taking different things and growing your business from that.
Fantastic.
And then the therapeutic, we also good friends with the Maryland Therapeutic
Riding.
Exactly. So good friends with Nancy Spiesman. That's right. And so I'm working with them on their brand identity for their Derby Day, which is their big fundraiser, and that's pro bono because it's a good cause. And I've kind of stepped away from Fish for a Cure. I'm doing less work with them now because the hospital took it over, and that was a pro bono work as well. So I'm like, well, that frees me up to take on a new positive project, and this is what. And since I'm already involved with the horse industry of Maryland, this would be perfect. So that'd be. So the therapeutic with horses, we got Maryland Millions, and we have Cecil County's Fairhill, all within basically a 4-month period. And that's just me just saying I want to get involved with horses, and that's kind of how things start naturally rolling. You decide you want to go somewhere, and then these pieces just start falling into place, and you make it happen.
What's next? I mean, are you looking to grow? I mean, is Europe on the horizon?
Well,
for a vacation, maybe.
For a vacation, definitely. But I'm always, believe me, I lived my brother was born in Italy, so I lived in Italy for 4 years when I was a kid. So that was like a 4-year period. So I've always loved that culture. And then in college, I went back for 6 months and studied in Florence. And so if I do anything, it'd be Italian, like something about like Florence or Rome or something. If what we're doing here in America when it comes to Citizen Pride is successful, I would love to reach out to that community and figure that out.
And Joe's a big history buff as well, so we would get into the whole.
Yeah. So that's way down the road.
In '98 when you started this, I mean, did you envision this success that it is right now, or I mean, was it? Yes, we're going to make it work, or was it?
Never did we think we'd get into retail.
No,
we graduated. We were graphic designers. We were, that's what we wanted to do, and we thought someday we might own our own shop and have a staff, but. As far as the Citizen Pride and imagining what it's going to become and how big, no. I mean, we just tried to not grow too fast. That's one thing for sure. We wanted to go slow and steady and not just put stuff out there to sell. We wanted to make sure what we put out was good and made sense and just kind of take our time because we had we learned as we went.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense to do a measure type of a growth.
Right.
It's and you've also, obviously reacted to what the market wants. I mean, they obviously wanted some sort of a retail product.
Right.
Otherwise, you would have we'd be in some office right now, staff running around, trying to.
And that you nailed it right there because that's the key. If people didn't like it, then we wouldn't. There wouldn't be a Citizen Pride. So that's kind of the joy we get out of this because it's the joy of when you create something and people relate to it, and they prove that through giving you their hard work earned money. So that's, to me as an artist, that's the greatest proof that you're doing something that's relevant. Some artists, and I have many artist friends. We all have different ways that we tick. But being a graphic design artist, I'm more in the marketing mindset. That's kind of what gets me excited.
Sure.
And it is exciting to see the broad reach. I mean, people are. I mean, there are a lot of Maryland expats, I guess, all over the country because we're selling Boston stickers to Hawaii and sending things out to the West Coast. So that's been fun to see. That's really increased the last year or two.
When you're driving down Route 2 in rush hour traffic, it's even worse now because the bridge is all screwed up.
Totally.
And you see a Citizen Pride sticker on the back of a car. Do you just smugly smile and?
No. It never gets old.
Little high fives.
Well, you never get. It's funny because we're talking about business versus art. I mean, I just was working for 2 months straight in downtown DC at a CBRE. I was doing building illustrations for them. So that's a case of strictly commercial work, And I'm downtown in DC, and I walk out of the park. I'm in some garage down under some building, the city center, and I walk the car right there at the end of the elevator is a car with both my the Annapolis magnet, with the red sailboat and the skyline, and then the birdland. And I had to pull my phone out and take a picture and shoot it off to Eva. It's like, can you believe this? I just walked out. Here it is in downtown D.C. It's just,
where's the furthest place you've seen some of your stuff?
We've had people send pictures from.
The furthest?
Yeah, I'm trying.
Maybe Arizona,
Colorado. I remember people sent photos from. We get fan photos of people have our flag. I mean, we have a picture of someone up in Denver.
That sounds like a contest, man, for summer vacations or something like that.
We've tried, different display or Citizen Pride or show us, this or that. Yeah, it's fun trying to come up with different things and make it fun. But we do love our fan base. I mean, the people on our Facebook and Instagram site are just really
it is really engaged. And you want to check that out at Facebook at Citizen Pride. And website is citizenspride.com.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, that's the, and then JEBdesign.com is the business side, so that we have two different worlds.
And that's JEBdesign.com.
Right.
Arts does make the world a better place. It really does. And you don't necessarily need to like all of the art. I mean, as we talked about, I'm not a particular fan of the opera. I do like ballet. I do like the symphony. I do like, any number of fine arts, if you will, like that. I think that's what art is all about. You take a little bit of a deeper look into it, and it makes your world a little bit better of a place because we have it. Here. And a lot of that is due to Joe and Eva Barsin.
Thank you. We love it. Thank you, John.
Thanks very much.
Thanks for listening to this special podcast for Annapolis. Please be sure to visit Annapolis.net for all your local news, events, and opinions. And in case you haven't already, please subscribe to the Annapolis Daily News Brief, where we bring you your local news direct to your phone or tablet every Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. Subscribe on iTunes or Google Play.